Hi, I'm Ember's Tide, he, him, and I'm happy and excited to welcome you to Smallfolk, a live play D&D podcast brought to you by Insight Check. Heroes come in all sizes. The Valley is home to the Smallfolk, and these are some of their stories. We invite you to scurry, jump, fly, and wiggle to take part in the adventures of Table 1. Follow JINK, the Pine Marten, Howee Leafears, the Batfolk Rogue, Abendstern Leafears, the Croakie Cleric, super long sparkly trail, the Shellkept Druid, and Wensleydale Beestinger, no relation, the Beastmaster Rogue Rivertail Otterfolk, as they take up their first adventure. Thank you for listening.
Welcome. Hi, my name is Leap. I use he, him, and this is a Smallfolk game. Thank you so much for coming. This is the inaugural stream of the Insight Check Pod Twitch stream channel. For those of you who don't know what Insight Check Pod is, I don't know how you got here, but I'll tell you anyways. Insight Check Pod is a weekly podcast about Dungeons and Dragons where we answer questions and we talk with friends and we bring on guests and we just have a lot of sillies. And today we are honored to present to you a Smallfolk game. Now, before I get to introducing all of our good friends who you see, I don't know where I am in the boxes. Here, down, around, that way, cool. There's a few things that I want to say, and then we're going to get started. So, Smallfolk is a homebrewed Dungeons and Dragons campaign that is based on the 5e rules. It is set in a place called the Valley, which is a lowland surrounded by rock in a mysterious wood known as the Whisperwood. And unlike most Dungeons and Dragon games, in some places you would play with orcs and elves and dwarves, but here we are playing with mice and bats and snails and frogs and lizards and also martens and otters as well. I don't think I missed any. I hope I didn't miss any. I'm a little nervous. And all of this has come from our good friend Jay, who's on the podcast, and myself. We, after a bunch of conversations, started talking about this and homebrewed this up. We are very thankful that Jay put together all of the basic mechanics of everything. And if you're interested in seeing the source document, there should be a command down in the sweet Twitch channel where you can actually see everything that we have created so far, if in case you want to try and run one at home for yourself. So, the command is !Smallfolk. And then you can see all that good stuff. Now, this is an event stream. What that means is that we are going to be on about once a month. We're running 2 games, and so there's going to be this game. All these very incredible people who are in different capacities around me are going to be playing their game this month. And then next week, we are going to be starting a whole new game with a whole new adventure. And the reason that we decided to do an event stream is this: we're all just a bunch of friends and we're all just really busy people. So we thought it would be nice to be able to find once a month where we could play. And something that we noticed was that it's just really difficult to catch up in a new stream when you know that there's like tons and tons and tons and stuff. So, man, that sort of made sense. So, anywho, basically, we are trying to make it as easy and as simple for you, the listener or viewer, to watch us whenever you can. After this, you'll be able to find us on Twitch VOD, the YubTubs, and also in podcast form. And yeah, I am going to stop talking for a minute and let myself calm down. And I am going to let our players introduce ourselves. We here at Insight Check Pod and at Smallfolk we believe in an inclusive table. So you are going to have all of our players introduce themselves, their pronouns, their characters, and their characters' pronouns as well, just to make things easy. So I'm going to let everyone start, and I think we are going to start, if you don't mind, with Embers.
Hi, I'm Emberstad. I use he, him. I'm playing Howee Leafears, the roguish Batfolk who has strayed from his tribe and his crew and fallen in with a brother from another mother. Abendstern Leafears. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Abendstern. I am a Croakie, he, him, please. I am a Croakie cleric that tries to keep his brother from another mother, Howee, out of trouble.
It's not gonna work.
Probably not.
Oh, and what are the pronouns for both of your characters, if you don't mind me asking?
Howee is a he, him.
Abendstern
Awesome.
is a he, him. It also works.
Incredible. Irish, do you want to go?
Sure. I'm Irish, also Michaela, also McBoots42, and my pronouns are she, her. And today I'll be playing JINK, the Pine Marten, who goes by he, him.
And then why don't we get our very sparkly friend Shiny to go now?
Yep, I'm Shiny Batgirl. I go by she, her. And I'm going to be playing super long, sparkly Trail. She's a Shellkept Druid, snail in non-small folk terms, who's been making her way over to the valley with her family over generations. So she's been collecting lots of treasures and is looking forward to new adventures.
And last but certainly not least, we have our good friend Cal.
Hello, I'm Cal, also Andrew, he, him. I'll be playing Wensleydale Beestinger. Beestinger is a coincidence, no relation. His pronouns are he, him, they, them, and hey, you get out of there. And he's a Beastmaster ranger, so his companion is Sid, a wasp whose pronouns are be, bim.
Incredible. And actually, I wanted to end with Cal because you will notice if you take a look at the source document that two of the races that you see here tonight are not included. They were not a part of the original source material, and we have some homebrew stuff. The JINK, the Marten, who we refer to as the swizzle tail, that is still underway in an official capacity, but Cal homebrewed the Rivertail Otterfolk, which you can find on D&D Beyond, I believe.
Yeah, and I just dropped the link for it into chat, in fact.
Absolutely incredible. In a few minutes, sometime soon, you are going to see me accepting a very small baby. His name is Douglas. He is my co-DM, and like I said, we're very busy people, and part of our inclusive table involves me hanging out with my son while my wife tries to get a bit of sleep in the evening. So you might see me in 5 to 10 minutes standing up and trying to DM while bouncing a sleeping child. If you have questions for our good players, what we're planning on doing is we are planning on having a Twitter feed where we'll be able to access all those questions. Our producer, Jurika, is going to be posting those up later next week. And then all of our characters and everyone involved with the stream will be able to answer at their leisure. So if you have anything you want to talk about for the game, questions that you have, I know that we are going to want to talk to you, and just be sure that you hashtag Smallfolk or Smallfolk DND. And yeah, for all of our buddies, we would really appreciate that. And last, but certainly not least, before we get started, there's just a few people I'd like to thank. I would like to thank our good friend Jay for being the foundation of this source material. Without him, we wouldn't be playing. I would like to thank our producer Jurika for doing all of the back work on this. She basically just decided that this stream would happen, and so without her, we would not be here. We'd be playing, but we wouldn't be here.
Yes.
So I would like to thank Ember's Tide for the music that he has created for this. It is absolutely incredible. I've been whistling it all week long. And last and certainly not least, I'd like to thank the players, obviously. These are some of the busiest people I know, some of which are in their own streams, some of which have, lives are just busy. And the fact that we could get everyone here means the world to me. And finally, I would like to thank you, the viewer or listener, for taking your time out of your busy schedule and coming to hang out with us. It really means the world to me. So, now that that is all done, we can get started.
Away we go!
So,
Does that mean I have to pay attention now?
yeah.
Is this on the test?
Yes.
But you don't have to.
You've already taken 6 damage. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's not true. That's not... No.
It's like
I don't know why you're rolling saves.
So our party has already been together on an adventure that happened off stream. And in a minute, we'll decide whether or not our party has stayed together after that time or has went off to their own corners of the valley, back to their clay houses or trees, back to their burrows or down by the riverside. But in this past time, the season has since changed and winter has come over the valley and the greater Whisperwood. What happens in the wintertime here is that the single exit of the pond that leads out, the one river, freezes, and the whole of the lower lands of the valley flood and turn into ice. So above ground travel becomes very difficult. Most people spend their time nestled with kin where they find it most comfortable. And life really goes underground. During this time, wherever you are, you receive, there is and you look and you see a very small white grub. And it just blinks kind of into existence nearby you. There's a letter on its back wrapped in a small leather string. And you open it up, and it's a summons for a job. There is a mousefolk who calls himself TUFTS the Merchant, who has asked our party to help them secure a contract in a faraway place in the valley called Lavender Lone. They're light on the details, but essentially to get there, since it is the winter, you have to go into some tunnels that have been long underused and many mousefolk think are abandoned and potentially haunted. There was hints of hesitation in TUFTS' writing, which makes him think that there might need be some assistance in securing the contract. And if you were to accept, then there would be payment for that as well. He's left you an address for you to meet him and has asked you to feed the grub and then send him back on his way. Change of the camera, right?
Star wipe.
Star wipe. So Howee is, during the wintertime, as a Batfolk, he is occasionally doing or participating in the patrols that fly above the area. Part of the duty of living in the valley even though he tends to try and stay warmed artificially through alcohol, he still flies and does his daytime reconnaissance to make sure that there's no, existential disturbance. So for him, this white grub popping out of nowhere sets him aback, and he rushes down someplace warm to get it out of the cold. Bids adieu to the other Batfolk who are doing recon and monitoring missions, and comes back into the warmth and immediately looks for libations to get his blood warmed again.
I'm sure they're available. So there are definitely libations nearby. Something warm, something hearty, right? That dark brown of a stout or an ale that you are able to find. So let's assume that we've all accepted, and the day that you were prescribed to be meeting him in the town below, which is the underground center of Mousefolk culture. It is a giant cavern that has been dug out over generations. And what was just burrows and tunnels has since been changed into cobblestone roads and hills and churches. There are still some tunnels, and there are still some of the old ways about here, but it is a civilization in its own right. And the city in the wintertime, especially, is bustling. You head down an alley in the north end, ducking under an archway, which a shop is actually right above it. And you go up a hill, and at the top of the hill, there is a cave entrance. And in front of the cave entrance stands a mouse with a pushcart with some small supplies on it. This mouse is wearing a light blue coat, heavy cotton, green trousers, and has gray fur. There's a tuft of blonde and brown hair that shoots right up from between its ears, and you can tell that they've done their best to try and make it look like it's an intentional haircut. This mouse sees you, finishes writing something on another pad, rolls it up, gives this grub a piece of cheese, and you see it just from existence, and then waves you down. And before we decide if you are going to walk up to them or not, I would like to give the players an opportunity to say what their character wants to do, or if your character has any questions about the job that they might already know before talking to this individual. Or we can just go and say hello.
So
Yeah.
Wensleydale's definitely happy to do the job. I just, for a little bit of context in this situation we're in, since Rivertails tend to be a fair bit bigger than the average Mousefolk, I'm sure Wensleydale's been to this city before because it's a hub. There are lots of people to know, lots of people to visit, lots of work to find, and I'm sure that there being so many different kinds of animals in this world that the Mousefolk have built it to accommodate people much larger than themselves. However, Wensleydale he can't get it out of his head that, like, this is a mouse city and I'm an otter and I'm so much bigger than them. So you'd watch him, like, walk under an awning or something that's twice as high off the ground as he is tall, and he still ducks. And he's got his quarterstaff out, and he's just, like, looking up at the ceiling every once in a while, making sure he can, like, poke something out of the way if it's coming. So by the time he gets to this place where we're meeting someone for the job, he is kind of on edge. He's kind of muttering to himself, and he's just like, "Stupid mouse city. I like mice, but I don't want to be here." And that's just sort of the mood he's in as our scene opens.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay.
I'm ready to go.
Well, if that's all. Awesome.
Have we
All right.
have we all met up, or are we just making our way to the meetup point?
Let's say that you either met up earlier in the alley or within your pairings made arrangements to meet a day before. So some of you might have met as you were turning a corner and you found each other kind of going the same way, recognizing each other immediately. Some of you might have spent, after a long travel, a night in one of the many inns here, shared some lodgings and had some good food, and just woke up for the visit. So I'm going to say that everyone's here.
Okay. JINK is pretty enthused to have another larger sized creature, and their otter friend. The long swizzly boy. He's just keep accidentally interrupting you.
It's all good. So Tuft waves you guys in, and as you walk up, he is astounded by the Rivertail and the Swizzlekin. He looks at everyone, and he looks at you both, and his jaw just drops. And wow!
So if he's stunned right now, Howee is going to try and take that opportunity to peruse his cart in great detail.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
for sure.
Wensleydale, assuming he's just impressed at seeing a powerful hero, is just going full Captain Morgan and just yes, drink it in.
I know. It's a lot.
I get this a lot.
Yeah. So Howee, why don't you make you can either make a sleight of hand roll or you can make a perception roll. Whatever you would prefer.
I will seek perception.
Yep.
21.
Oh yeah. So it is a mouse-sized pushcart, so it's not very big, and it's clearly something that a single mouse can move around. It is mainly empty, except there is a small bundle of just adventuring supplies, things that seem pretty standard, especially for you as someone who patrols and adventures. He also, beside him, on his coat, he has a very full pack. Like a side bag that is near overflowing, it's almost bursting at the seams. So you, being who you are, you probably assume that anything that is of real value to him is in there, and anything that he couldn't carry himself is in the cart. I'm going to say with that 21, you also probably think that he's hoping to bring things back with him.
Otherwise, traveling with some empty suitcases, going to hit up the outlet malls.
Exactly, yeah, just bring back all those good Florida trinkets.
I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so he says, it's just so good to meet you all. And he keeps trying to look at everyone, but his eyes just keep pointing to JINK and to Wensley, and it's just wow. I've heard, and I know that it's. You're just, I've never met a Swizzletail or an otter, a Swizzlekin and a Rivertail. I'm just, I'm sorry. Let me, okay. Hi, I'm Tuft, and he tries to, I'm Tuft the merchant, and thank you on behalf of my employer of taking this job. It means the world to us, and I, while a keen merchant, am not an adventurer, and I promise that I hope that it will be easy, and I promise no matter what, you shall be paid in full. And he kind of motions.
I prefer to be paid in money.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. That. Yes. Okay. This is that Rivertail humor I've heard of. Okay.
No, I don't know what you. I want money.
Yeah. Yeah. And so nervously, he opens his pack up, and there's a small small bag that he opens up, and without just opening it, you can see. You can just see standard Smallfolk currency. You can see gold caps. You can see the silver leaves, and you can even see some of the bronze chips that it just makes up, day-to-day living in this small furry capitalist economy that we're creating here. So he motions. He's like, everything that everything that we agreed on. I don't know if we talked details in the letter. I can't remember. There's been a lot. We've been writing a lot of letters. I apologize, but here, why not we do this? So for passage to get from here to Lavender Lone, it's 3 days of travel, and these tunnels are, well, they're not used often. 200 gold caps, we think, is a reasonable offer. And my employer has allowed me to offer you up to 550 caps, should it be required.
It is.
Okay, I was going to say, should it be required to continue to be sure that the contract that we are trying to negotiate with the mice of Lavender Lone is secured, and which will be paid once the contract papers are signed. That should be said. I've messed that one up in the past.
No. This, and I sort of take a step back and put a claw on TUFTS' shoulder. I say, No, you misunderstand. This is the greatest lesson in negotiation I have ever seen. We are lucky to get a chance to work for whatever gold caps you can manage, and to settle it just a shy hair over 500 really speaks your skill. And I'll make sure that we talk about with your employer how you left us bruised at the negotiating table with your prowess.
He is relieved, and he is you see him like swell up a little bit, and okay.
Were you stung by a bee?
No. Oh no. No, thank you. That's just very, very kind. Well, it's early in the morning. I know, but it is a full 3 days of travel, 2 nights. And so if you wouldn't mind us starting to go, I would prefer not to be in the front, but if I don't know how these adventuring parties work. I'm really an office mouse, but my employer has decreed that we need a representative at the Lone for this, and she decided that it was going to be me. So be it. I see. How should we start? And he looks up at this hill, and for image sake, the walls of the outside of the cavern are just dirt and stone, and there are roots that slowly make their way down. Many of the tunnels that you got here by, except for you, Howee, you might have flown down from a top entrance that's allowed by so for Batfolk to get in, but everyone else would have had to come through some pretty standard routes, which are all cobblestone and well engineered, and then look like the underside of a bridge, almost like an old stone bridge. But this one is bare dirt, and looks old in nature and black. There doesn't seem to be any torchlight permeating it at all.
So as soon as Tuft asks the group, how should we get started, Wensleydale says, "All right, let's go," and just like takes off in a random direction. Gets maybe like 20 feet away, walking very confidently, and then
Incredible.
just kind of stops. Tail droops, head droops. His wasp companion kind of bops him on the head with a wing,
Yep.
and then they turn around and he walks back and goes, "I need to know where we're going."
Oh, it's in the tunnel. I should have said that. And he just like points to the tunnel.
As soon as
we go in there.
as soon as a direction is indicated, Wensleydale just takes off in that direction.
Come
on.
Wensleydale.
Abendstern stops TUFTS, or stops Wensley, sorry, and
What?
says, "Shouldn't we ask first if there's a map?"
Yeah,
Okay.
I think a map would.
TUFTS, do you have a map?
All right.
Oh, yes, of course. Definitely. And he reaches into his bag and, moves over a couple things. And he then pulls out this long piece of parchment and kind of bends down onto the cold floor and rolls it out. And basically, it's very simple, really. This is a lot of tunnels have their forks and their alternative routes. This one just heads to the Lone. There are a dead end or two, and you see that on the map. There, it is a straight passage. It is just generally straight north, and then he for a while, and then he points, and I think that this is about where we'll have to stop for a day. And you see that there is a bit of a cavern that opens up. And then after the cavern, it looks like this is an old map. You can tell it's just the parchment is old, and you can see that it kind of spirals down a little bit, and then after that the route is less direct, but it does head generally northeast, and with a few caverns and a few spots that have some kind of markings on them, things that like you can see that they're notes that he might have maybe even written himself, like places for potential rest, right, stuff like that. But there doesn't really seem to be much of another way to go, and then it just kind of stops with an X that says Lavender Lone right there.
Long sparkly trail. For the most part, she probably just follows behind slowly. She moves especially slowly in the cold, so she probably falls farther and farther behind, and then when no one's looking, she'll use her like blink misty step things that she has as a Shellfolk to catch back up again, but she only uses it, she thinks she can only use it when nobody's watching her, so she'd only do it when she falls farther enough behind.
Okay, if JINK notices that you're falling behind, he'd probably scoop you up and put you on his shoulder.
Oh, that works.
Ooh. They are very heavy.
She's
it's
pretty
a
big,
surprising it's a surprising thing. The Shellkept are like, they're dense. They're really
She's
really,
covered
really
in
dense.
doodads, and she does leave a long sparkly goo trail, so I don't know if it's something that if you guys want on you, but
her shell is kind of a Katamari of bedazzled decorations.
exactly, yeah, generations
Well, it's okay.
of Katamari.
It's okay because Abendstern is the kind of Croakie that usually at this time of year completely freezes. His whole body freezes and he hibernates. So he moves a little slowly too. So he'll bring up the rear with you.
Nice.
So Howee is going to stay close to TUFTS and continue to talk him up and try to gain some sort of insight about who his employer is and what's behind this new business opportunity. Not in any pointed way, but just buttering up that mouse.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're gonna do, buttered mouse. It is a weird delicacy, but here we are.
Not gonna yuck anybody's yum.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. That's not our space. What I'm gonna ask is I'm gonna ask for either a persuasion or an insight roll, because you're trying to butter him up, right? So you're trying to convince him to speak a little bit. And if you want, you can roll both and take the higher number, because I feel like he would be doing both.
Well, insight's my jam, so I'm probably going to get better with that.
So is that going to be? Are you going to be doing that like while we start to make our way in the direction, or is this sort of before we even get on the road?
It's as we go. Okay. My hope is that, as we're talking, Tufts is not an adventurer. He's likely to be distracted and maybe more pliable because he's not thinking about
so just like as we go along here.
Yeah.
You're just trying to like get him in your back pocket.
Yeah, and just see if he drops any breadcrumbs when he's not paying much attention. I rolled a 24.
Woo! All right. So now I don't have my I don't have my source material in front of me, which is silly of me as a DM. But I know that Howee will have dark vision. I know that he has blind sight, so he can see absolutely no problem.
Yep.
I'm going to think that the Martens are going to have limited blind sight or like dark vision. So I'm going to say, we never talked about this, but I'm going to say about 30 feet in front of you.
Okay.
I don't think that the Otters, the Shellkept, or Abendstern would have it.
Otters do have dark vision.
You do? Okay,
yes.
cool.
Not blind sight, but dark vision.
So yeah, Leap, I can see black and white 60 feet ahead of me in the dark. And based on that, I'm trying to be somewhere towards the front, just also so I can have my ears out and just be kind of echolocating, kind of doing the little the whole time. In between, little niceties to Tufts and saying, encouraging him to be brave and walk up towards the frontish with me.
For sure. I want to role play this with you for a minute, but as he is, he can see fine. This is his area, but what he will do is, out of almost as if he was told to, he reaches into his pouch and he pulls out, for anyone who has dark vision or some sense of it, he pulls out this small bug and he runs a finger along it from the top of its like bug head to through the back of its carapace, and then you can and definitely you, Howee, you could see this because you're right beside him. You hear this thing kind of hum and shake like a purr, and then in a minute its whole body, like its whole thorax, begins to glow an orange, and it lifts it opens its wings and it lifts up and it flies 30 feet ahead of you and lights the tunnel up. And then nervously, he kind of sheepishly looks at you and takes out a second one and does the same. And he actually whispers something to this one. And this one begins to glow and light up and fly to the back, so that both ends of this party are now have these lights that are following it.
This party is lit.
It is lit. Exactly.
As soon as these bugs come out, Wensleydale puts a hand on Sid to make sure that he doesn't go and try and eat them.
Excellent. Good.
Abendstern shares the desire to enjoy one of these delicious-looking grubs.
It's like, no, then you'd have to walk with your mouth open the entire time to light the way.
Fine.
So what do you say exactly to him to try and get him to open up? Just a bit, not the whole thing.
I'd say, you have some secrets, don't you? For a merchant who's not an adventurer, you're well prepared. That, negotiation skills, cartography. I think you have a great many surprises and much to teach us. We're lucky to be on this journey together.
Well, that's kind. I come from Safonzia is an excellent employer, and she is quite good at making sure that everyone is prepared. And so when she decided that I would be the mouse that she would send off, to finish her negotiations. She's had me writing to these mice for months about their honey, and so I guess it had to be me to finish the contract, as she would say. But you know how it is when there's a once in a lifetime opportunity. It would secure our funding and riches for her for lifetimes to come. And so I'm honored, I should say.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mostly just fly around. But if you could forgive such a simple question, but for a lifetime opportunity, doesn't it seem odd that all we have to do is walk 3 days journeying? For such a rich leader as Sephansia and one of such means, don't you suppose that perhaps there might be a complication, or why hasn't she sealed this contract or partnership already?
Well, you've heard of Lavender Lone Wild Hive Honey, haven't you?
I don't know. Have I?
You would have.
I get around.
No,
I mean,
and the bat that you are,
taste for the finer things.
Exactly, and so this is what you would know about Lavender Lone Wild Hive Honey. As I try and quell the Douglas I accidentally just activated,
no honey for that one.
No honey for him. You know that this is the Mousefolk equivalent of a 50-year-old bottle of wine from the nicest vineyard that you can get. This is Lavender Lone Wild Hive Honey is a prestige purchase for the richest mice and croakies in the region. And he just starts, that's all that you know of it, and that it's exceptionally rare.
Okay.
That it's one of those things that people don't even bring out. It's owning it that shows that you're rich beyond your means, that you don't even have to worry about anything. But then he just and while you're thinking about this, he's just been talking about all of the different paperwork that he's had to do, and all of the letters that he had to write to even just get an agreement that the mice might talk to them, that they are very, very secluded in this far off part of the, oh, it's okay, buddy. Of the valley. And then he says, but what's crazy is that they don't even charge for it. They charge as if it's just a normal honey. And so there's these markets that come up as soon as one of their carts with those small purple robes show up. They just swarm on them. And then the secondary market, that's where you make the money, is the resale. And so Sephansia knew that if she could get our foot in the door and convince these stubborn mice, oh my God, they are, Howee, they're just so, how many one-word letters that they sent back that I had to reply to.
Were you the first to write to them, or were there others in Sephansia's organization?
I was the one she assigned I was the one she assigned. And so I diligently worked and lost count of the letters I wrote to them. And they finally said they may open the door for me. So that is why I think that this might be a concern, that they might not see us. There's also, and he pauses for a minute.
Yeah.
Says, there was they seem to have mentioned some problems with supply, and the legends say that their stores are endless. The hive itself is gigantic, if our maps are correct. But so I don't know what they would mean by a problem with supply, which is why we hired you. That and as soon as he says that, you can sell, like, there is it's been hours of speaking and talking.
And perhaps he realizes he's maybe wandered off the reservation a bit.
A little bit, yeah. And he's like, well,
as soon as I notice that, I'll put my hand on Tuft's shoulder and say, my good friend, when we arrive at their door, I am sure they will see the caliber of mouse they are dealing with. And
if they don't, I'll punch them.
And it is our honor to finally untap and let the honey flow for you.
So, if there's anything else that people want to do during this first day of journey, now is a great time to let me know. It's a boring... let's actually have just some quick perception rolls along this tunnel, and then I'll do a quick description, and we'll go from there. And we'll do it. We'll go Embers. We'll go Howee, Abendstern,
I dropped my die.
JINK. You dropped your die. Shiny, and then
I have a rolling tray, and I still dropped my
Wensley.
die.
I rolled a 7.
7. Ooh, Shiny get a 13. She put it in the chat for us.
I rolled an 18 plus 3, 21.
Ooh, good one.
I got 17.
Perfect.
Don't worry about me.
Don't worry about you. And with Shiny's 13, so basically anyone who got over a 10, it is, you notice that this is, anyone under, it's like this is just a tunnel, and Wensley, you've been maybe having to duck your head more than you would like, and since you're still in that tall man syndrome, right, just like making sure that you're not gonna have another chance of whacking your noggin, you are more concentrated on that than the travel itself. But this is, there is no stonework in this tunnel. There are only some very sparse wood struts that have been put up to prevent cave-ins, and like a mine. And after half day's journey, those two disappear. It gets tighter and it gets colder. And then what you notice is that it's just becoming an older and older version of this tunnel. After another few hours of journey, you come to that cavern that was pointed in the map. It is just an opening of space that the tunnel continues through, and you can see that it dips down, and you see a very tired mouse. Kind of, he's been pulling this push cart the whole time. Just finally been done talking for hours. The bugs kind of bzzz around, lighting it up, casting shadows about. And he says, well, this is it for our day. Why don't we start talking camp? I'll begin the fire. And with that, we're going to take a break. So this is our halfway point for our break, I believe. And I'm going to go get a drink and bounce this guy around. Thank you guys all so much for coming so far, and I am really excited to see you in about 5 minutes. Adios.
Thank you for listening to Episode 1 of Table 1 in Smallfolk, an adventure campaign brought to you by Insight Check Podcasts. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating or review in iTunes or wherever else you consume this podcast, and check out our library of past episodes. Please stay tuned for the continuation of Episode 1, where our adventurers leave the safety of the valley and head towards the unknown following the tradesman TUFTS. Thank you, and we hope to see you back in the valley.